The next question is, I know the Bible speaks about submission. I think y'all hit on this already, but however, I'll start back over. I know the Bible speaks about submission. However, I find it difficult to submit to my husband. I disagree with a lot of his decisions, and I feel as though I can't trust his leadership. Any advice on how to be this God-fearing, submissive wife? How do I submit to my husband when I don't trust his leadership? You need me to read it again?
Read the question again, then, so we can come out this way.
Okay, all right. It says, I know the Bible speaks about submission. However, I find it difficult to submit to my husband. I disagree with a lot of his decisions, and I feel as though I can't trust his leadership. Any advice on how to be this God-fearing, submissive wife? How do I submit to my husband when I don't trust his leadership?
It's a lot of questions to that.
That's a prayer thing, first and foremost. That is absolutely.
Communication.
Communication
still.
It's a prayer thing, and then the question we avoiding is the man saved?
That's what I was gonna ask too.
Is the man saved? Or the next thing is the man saved, or is he a traditional Christian? Is he a carnal Christian? So that's the other answer to the two things to it. So first thing, what's the word I'm trying to look for? A saved person, when Corinthians 7 talks about it, say the wife sanctified her, the husband sanctified her, but you really like the ark covering to the family. So you have to pray and still learn how to be submissive to the husband. Love is a conqueror to people, amen? It's a conquering thing. Love is such a conquering way about that situation. But I have to go to the scripture, Corinthians 7. If you're an unbeliever and you please whoever you did, then deal with him, amen? But I'm trying to say it's a real prayer situation. And then sometimes God might not be changing things because there's some things in you he wants you to change first. It's necessary that the man knows, he want to know, do you believe? Sometimes if you feel like a person don't believe you, what you gonna do? I'm gonna say it like this. If I feel like you don't believe, I'm just gonna rebel. You know what I'm saying? Some men gonna rebel. They feel like you don't believe, they just gonna rebel. They ain't gonna work with you. But if you show them, hey, I love you, I'm gonna give you a chance till you prove me wrong. Now, if you prove me wrong, then I understand. Then we have to do different strategies, you know what I'm saying? But the key thing is that you really have to pray. I mean, there's some things, some cycles, some things ain't gonna change till you start praying and watch God break them cycles. That's just as real as I can get. But if this man is not saved, then you're gonna have to still humble yourself, treat him nice, show him love, spend time with him, you know what I'm saying, and try to communicate and talk to this man. Let him know how you feel. Hey, I feel like, can we do it this way? It's a way to talk to you. You have to just talk. Like we said, communication is the key. But if he feel like you don't trust him or she feel like you don't trust her, some people, they just rebel. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they don't know Christ. But it's our job to show love in spite of, if you married the man, if you was good enough to marry this joker, or sweetie pie, you was good enough to marry them, then that means you have some kind of trust for them. So your thing is, you have to pray till God break the change. You can say a lot of things, but some people, they just rebel. They be like, well, she don't believe me, they don't believe what, But anybody else, you can speak, anybody else can speak.
I was just going to agree with what Bishop, with what you said. It falls back into, why did you marry this person in the first place? You had to have some trust, some love, some respect for you to say, yes, I'll marry you, and yes, I do. I absolutely agree. It's going to take prayer. But while you were talking, Bishop, I thought about, we come from different backgrounds and upbringing. And I think about Ralph and I, we came from two different backgrounds. He comes from a 2-parent household. I come from a single mother household,
Uh-huh.
and raised that I could do everything on my own. You know, if I need it, I'll figure out how to get it. If I want it, I'll get it. And so you have to take that into consideration. There's a lot of questions that I have based on the context of that question, because she was raised like I was. You know, he might be saying something good. He might be, you know, advising them just in a way that she disagrees with. You know, it's not bad. She just disagrees with it. There's some humility. There's some prayer. There's some compromise that she's going to have to take into consideration, that now you're married, it's not just all about you anymore.
Right.
Do some things that you might not agree with, and sometimes you have to keep your mouth shut, because as the head of the household, they may see something different or see the pathway a whole lot differently than how you may see it. You may see 5 feet in front of you while they may see 50 feet. So there's a lot of things that that she needs to consider taking into thought, and definitely taken to the Lord about.
Yeah.
I agree. That's what I was going to say too, is that her husband could be saying the right things, but because, let's say she was single for 20 years. Well, you usually doing your own thing for 20 years. Of course, what he say going to be wrong and be like, he don't know what he's talking about, because I'm used to doing my own thing. It's a lot to that question, and it's a lot of details we probably don't need to know, but it's a lot to that question that, you know, we're leaving open for consideration. But I do feel like what somebody said, communication. And sometimes if you just sit down and talk to your man, you will get a better understanding of why he's saying what he's saying. And then you can be like, oh, maybe he do have the point. You know, maybe this is a good way to do things. And then if he is understanding or whatever, and they compromise, you know, they tried his way and maybe she has a different way of doing it. Maybe they can come in the middle, and maybe it'll work out better for the both of them. And then that will build her trust. That will build her trust. And then that'll build the relationship more. And then she'll be like, oh yeah, my man know what he's talking about. It's all about perception for a lot of us. It's all about perception. A lot of us, we just perceive it wrong, and it's just like, well, no, I don't want to do it. So agreed.
And I'm agreeing with what everybody said. Like, I like what you said. You came from a different background. You said you came from a single mother, a single house, raised by your mom, and so you used to doing it on your own. And then sometimes men have to understand, when you marry somebody like that, when they used to do it on, you have to give them time to shift and put trust, because what happened is, I hate to say it, but the man have made the woman become a man by themselves. But they have to depend on themselves. Then when a real man come into place, then the woman got to adjust and learn how to humble down to get back to a submissive place. You know what I'm saying? It just takes them a time, you know, so you have to give them woman, but that's still coming knowledge and knowing too what you're dealing with. So when you say I do to a person that's been married for 20 years, they've been on their own for 20 years, don't expect them just to change over overnight. It takes God to help them change, and you learn their change and learn how to adapt with them. You know what I'm saying? That just goes two ways around. I mean, there's so much I can say to that, but I'm gonna just let that ride that way.
That's good.
I just want to say one thing. I was going to say, like, Sis Shanta Baxter was saying, you know, about the communication, but it's also just comprehension, like she was saying. Communicate, but he might say something and I'm taking it a different way than what he's meaning. So comprehension is good. And sometimes you got to take it back to the basics or to the beginning, like what the Wilsons were saying. Why did I fall in love with this person, or why did I marry this person? And, you know, when we first got married, before we got married, we did marriage counseling because we didn't know, what we were walking into. And sometimes you might have to go to spiritual counseling, people who help marriages, if you don't know what things to do to help your marriage. And it's also good to have somebody who knows to help you with it.
Yeah,
it's true.
And it's also, that's why it's good to be in classes for marriage. Have classes on that. Like, this is a good thing tonight for us to just talk through stuff, you know, about what's going on. You need to have, it's always a battle. It's always a more excellent way. That's what the scripture says. God has a more excellent way all the time. So that's why it's good to get, he said, all that good and get an understanding. So even though I don't got married, but yeah, I still need some teaching on marriage, you know what I'm saying? So it really helped me going to marriage classes and learning, you know what I'm saying? But then the Holy Spirit helped me to learn too, to break down stuff. And then and the thing was that my wife was a prayer warrior, which really helped me because I came from a strong DNA, determined family. We just do what we want to do. You know what I'm saying? But God have a way to break you. And I'm more mellow because of my wife, you know what I'm saying? So, and that was the greatest thing. And I'll tell you about it. My wife was a serious prayer warrior. Before she argued with me, she just gonna say, well, I tell you what, we just gonna pray about this, and I'll be talking to you. And it would always shift and change. And I learned to hear God and respect what her thought processes was, you know. And you know, we compromise. We compromise even to this day. You know what I'm saying? We still compromise. Or I always say, as Pastor Wilson said, I ask her whatever makes it. Do you think we ought to do this? Can we do this? Can we do this or that? You know what I'm saying? I don't go against the grain. I don't feel like I'm the man. What I say, that's it. That's the way it's gonna be. Nah. Because we've always worked together. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
Right. So we're gonna try to get by 8:30.
Okay. All right, real quickly.